Welcome to episode 3, and today we're in Mora Studios, a brand new recording space in North Cornwall. And we have got some incredible guests to join us, and we're going to be talking very soon to them. But first of all, I wanted to say you can travel the length and breadth of our country on almost every beach, from Tynemouth all the way down to Branscombe, from Sen Cove right up here to the North Cornish coast. And you'll find surf schools at almost every beach. But what does it take to move away from a traditional surf school, bringing joy to the masses, and head down an adaptive route? Well, this incredible charity has done just that, and I cannot wait to meet them. Please welcome to episode 3. It is AdSurf.
Hi.
Me.
So we've got two incredible guests here. Founder, along with his mum, Cyril Cox, and Zoe Gascoigne. Zoe is one of the trustees and also worked with Cyril to establish AdSurf. And we're going to be talking to them about the whole process of leaving a surf school, and a very successful surf school, I must say, and going forth to becoming one of only a few actual charities that support people with learning difficulties and disabilities to get into surfing. So I'm going to start there, Cyril, I think. Okay. How many years did you run your successful surf school, Big Blue?
Oh, I took it over and I was running it for about 6 years. This feels like a long time ago now, but yeah, about 6 years.
And you were following bigger legacy, Matt Stevenson before that, and then John Price before then. So this surf school, I mean, Big Blue, how long had it been there in the community?
I think John set it up 1999 maybe.
Yeah.
Around that time. It was around the time I was born, so it's been running a long time. But yeah, and then Matt took it over, I don't know when, and he had it for about 6-7 years, and then so it's very well established, and both of them did an amazing job with it.
They certainly did. And am I right, Cyril, that you used to come across from Holsworthy, a school not far from here? You'd have lessons through their kind of like junior development, the school stuff. You'd been taken on lessons, and you always kind of were involved with it as a participant with Big Blue. Did you ever believe that as a child that you'd end up running a surf school yourself?
No.
Yeah.
Is the honest answer. No. I do remember getting on the bus at Holsworthy to come and teach some of the people that I was going to school with at one point. Like, it was a really weird crossover. But no, I never really thought about it, and then the opportunity came up and just jumped at it. It was a really cool part of my life.
And Zoe, you've obviously come from a whole range of backgrounds. I've worked with you with our club, Youth Wave Riders, and you've supported us, and now you're heavily involved as a trustee with AdSurf. Your background, for those that are listening, tell me where you did your degree and that kind of amazing course, because that was quite a unique course at the time.
Yes, so I studied marine sports science down at Cornwall College in Newquay. It was a Plymouth University course, and that for me was kind of like a bit of a kickstart into doing more in the marine sector, but also just sort of marine sports. And I knew that I wanted to study sports science, but for me, the only sports that I was interested in were the ones on the water. So it was a bit of a degree that for me was like, that's perfect, that's what I want to do. And it also came at a time where I was reassessing in my job career, what do I want to do? And I'd recognised, well, I really want to work in the charity sector, and often you need a degree to work in the charity sector. So I just picked a degree that looked like the most fun, what was going to be the most engaging, and where was I going to learn about stuff that I actually found cool. It was that doing that degree and giving me the spare time to kind of volunteer and get involved in other stuff led me to kind of, ending up, I guess, starting AdSurf. It wouldn't, without that degree and having the spare time to volunteer and to explore other stuff, and I don't think I'd be where I am today.
Okay, Cyril, so you've talked about Big Blue and the success that it was. You were working there for 6 years, running a really successful, popular surf school. Why the big change to move from an able-bodied surf school to an adaptive surf charity?
I mean, I have to give credit to John and Matt, who had it before, because they were doing adaptive stuff before that. I remember when I was a kid turning up and actually assisting on some of the sessions that they were running. So this is, we're talking 15, 20 years ago that they were doing these sorts of sessions. So it was always there. It was always part of what we did. What I did when I took over was kind of realise that it was something that I was very invested in and really kind of loved running the sessions. And then kind of got to the point where me and Mum realised that we were kind of doing too many of them for it to continue in the way that we were as a commercial school. We had too many people coming in, and it may be like siblings that were there and they couldn't surf. We'd be trying to squeeze them in on sessions, but it was only really myself that had the experience to run those sessions. So eventually we were like, well, we're going to have to take a step. So we had 2 years of kind of overlap with me still owning Big Blue and having AdSurf as a kind of a stated charity. And it's kind of worked out from there, really.
So Zoe, I wanted to talk about that. Is the process of creating a charity is not an easy process. Okay. And this is where you came on board to support with Cyril. So can you talk through the process of how you set up a surf charity?
Yeah, so I think Cyril and Jill, his mum, they'd kind of recognised that there was a need for something imbued. So we kind of sat around the table and we were like, right, how do we go through the charity commission? How do we actually register as a charity? Because we had all these big ideas, we had all these goals. What do we want to achieve? What, more equipment, more people in the water, essentially, was the end goal. But the actual getting it through the charities commission, sitting down, working out what are your charitable aims, there's such a like rigid block of guidelines that you've got to follow to become a charity. And credit to Jill, Cyril's mum, because she put in the hours, she filled out all the paperwork, and we really heavily relied on like friends and colleagues in the charity sector. And I think we pulled on like as many people as we could to make sure we were saying the right things and getting across what we wanted to put across to the charity commission, to try and explain to them what we were trying to achieve as a surf charity, adaptive surf charity, because there are other adaptive surf charities that do exist. So what was it that we were bringing to the table? And yet I think it took a year of waiting, was it? We kind of submitted it and then it felt like a year. I think it probably was slightly less, but it took a year. And then, as soon as we got the green light, it did feel like kind of all stations go, like, right, let's go, let's get funding and let's get this on the road.
So you talk about funding. Where do you then look to, obviously as an NGB, Surfing England has an adaptive pathway that they run through their NGB with their adaptive championships annually. They have Team England that competes, but as funding from the NGB, I'm sure there's a small amount of there, but that's not enough to be able to run a charity exclusively through an NGB. So you had to go elsewhere, didn't you?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so we rely kind of like entirely on our small fundraising group that we have in the charity, as well as applying to funding pots. And we have a dedicated trustee that fills out all the funding applications, and some of them come from Sport England, some of them come from businesses, but the Surfing England were quite helpful in terms of the Sport England funding applications, because there's certain things that we have to say as a charity, we're applying for this pot of money because we want to achieve this, and that's where Surfing England can come in and say, yes, we can support with you guys achieving that. So there's some funding pots we go for that we just say we want to do this, and they're amazing, and they say, yes, here, have the money, take it. And then there's some things we'll say, okay, well, we would like a new set of boards, so we apply for certain things, certain pots for certain things, and then once in a while we get like an unrestricted funds, which is like the golden, like you can do what you want with it. So there's various people that have supported. There's been Southwest Water. There's been lots of local businesses. The local business support has been amazing, whether it's been dedicating time, whether it's been dedicating funds. But we do rely entirely on finding the money ourselves, essentially, because unfortunately Surfing England can't just give us a massive chunk of money to go and do what we want with it. So kudos to the hard work that goes on behind the scenes.
I mean, as an organisation, they wish they could.
Yeah.
But what you're also doing in going independently is much to the way like the local community surf schools, Bude Wave Riders, Newquay Board Riders, Croydon Surf Club, they've all had to search out for funding themselves independently, because the NGB is there to support and provide guidance, but it isn't the only place that you're going to be able to receive funding. And it's growing, and with more people such as yourselves drawing attention towards adaptive surfing as a charity, we hope that those larger funding streams from Disability UK and all of those things will come into it as well. So Cyril, we obviously we were talking about the kind of the establishment of the charity, but what about training to gain the qualifications that you need to be? Because as a surf instructor, you need qualifications, obviously, for the legality side. But what about an adaptive qualification? What did you have to go through to start your own ability to teach?
So a lot of what I know and what I've done has come from that experience working with the likes of Matty and actually John himself before then, and just getting in the water doing sessions. But obviously, kind of you want the safety, you want the understanding. So I've personally done online courses. I've done autism awareness. I've done a sports diploma. I've done other stuff that will help me with that. I have also done the ISA level 1, which I don't know when that came out, but it was quite a few years ago now that I did that, which was a really cool course. And we have the likes of Ben Clifford that run that in the UK, so that was really good. But there is stuff out there, but I think we're still building towards getting more, which would be really cool.
Absolutely. At the moment, as an NGB, they're working through a progressive pathway of converting what were ISA qualifications into Surfing England qualifications. And I know that Nick in Surfing England is driving down able-bodied surfing qualifications, and there's a progressive pathway from surf school to advanced coaches coaching with young juniors that are going into kind of hardboard to then fully through to competitive surfers. And their mission statement is to then follow that progress into adaptive surf coaching. You were acting as kind of like an advisor on that in the initial time, weren't you?
Yeah.
That at the moment is on hold, but you really do feel that the ISA one doesn't quite relate to England, does it? Do you feel that we need slightly different ways of looking at it because of our geographic location?
Yeah, and I think the ISA in itself is really, really good.
Yeah.
I want to state that, but also, you know, like you're saying, yeah, in England, and actually in reality, getting in the water, you need to have, I would say, probably a year to 2 years of actual experience being in the water and actually being assessed over that period of time. With something like the adaptive side of things and the disability, neurodiversities, mental health, is not just a one and done. That needs to be continuous progression, which I think is what Nick is driving towards, which would be really, really cool for us to have as you know, Surf England, and kind of move forward with that and just keep progressing it. That's what it needs.
Absolutely. And you know, we hope to see that in the next few years because it's needed. We know that the clientele is out there. You're getting great numbers. We want to make sure that perhaps other surf schools around the country where there are people close to their locality can get access to a surf school to give them opportunities to find the joy of surfing if they come from an adaptive background. So we've got one of our boards behind us here, Zoe. Okay. And obviously some of the equipment behind Cyril as well. So running an adaptive surf school, you can't really just use the same equipment that a surf school uses, can you?
No.
So how has that equipment adapted and changed?
Yeah, Cyril can probably talk a little bit better about this sort of stuff, to be fair, because he runs most of the sessions. But all of our equipment has been stuff that we've had to self-fundraise for, and it's not, it's very sought after equipment, it's very niche, it's not as simple as like just going online and clicking order. But a lot of the equipment that I've noticed, just being in it for like over a certain amount of years, is the development that's kind of we're starting to see in terms of like this would have just been maybe a foam surfboard or a hard surfboard with a block of foam stuck to wherever the participant would need it, and now we're sort of met with boards that have stuff that's already attached to it, and you're constantly creating like new stuff for each individual surfer. Like we will have a surfer that comes down, and then next thing you know, you've got Cyril at one of the local workshops trying to build some bit of foam to put in a chair to work out how to get someone in the water. So I think you very much see it as like, no, not a problem, we'll figure it out, just give us a minute. So yeah.
The difficulty with it, and I think these boards from Float, which is a Portuguese brand, are actually amazing, is you're going to have so many people with such individual needs and necessities within the water. You can't just be like, right, like Zoe said, put a block of foam in for this person, it's going to work for everyone, because it just doesn't happen. It doesn't work that way. So we've been trying to work on a few different aspects of what we do to allow the equipment that we're evolving and making to fit everyone. And like these boards, for example, have the chest raiser on the middle of the board. They have the handles in a certain position, and they also have like funnels in the back for your legs to sit in. So that in itself will not work for everyone, but it's going to work for a whole host of people, which is really, really cool. And then some of the stuff that we've been working on, like we've worked with Tom at GMATs and the boys at Rooted Ocean. They've been amazing, and actually creating like a skeleton for our chairs, which inflate. I think that's been the best thing for us. So kind of realise, obviously, rather than just going down the foam route, which is what most chairs are made out of, is actually like something that can adjust. And then it's, we've made one thing, but it can work for a whole host of people. And I mean, we're never going to get to the end of it. We're never going to be like, right, we
it's
can
like
take
constant product testing, isn't it? Like,
we can never just take everyone in and, we're going to fit, but we can take it, maybe 80% of people now, and it's going to work for those people. So
you mentioned 80%, and that's what I was going to ask you next, is have you yet to come across a disability physically, and in terms of a physical disability, that you've not been able to adapt and actually introduce them to a surf lesson yet? Or do you pretty much think you can get most people in the water? There's
only really two things that we are struggling with at the moment, and we've only had, I think, one individual that we couldn't get in the water. And that generally is because of the mobility of getting down the beach for a lot of it. So the wheelchairs will have kind of a size and weight like limit to them, and then obviously being in the water, there's a safety issue there, and then the wetsuits and things like that. So just being able to get in, I mean, most people struggle to get in a wetsuit anyway, so there's always going to be people that will struggle with that. So it's generally the mobility, and then the other issue that we are aware of, but we haven't had anyone, is with kind of an oxygen tank dependency. So anyone who can't be without that, we're not going to be able to take them in the water because of the salt, the rust, everything like that. So.
And again, if anyone's listening and has got expertise in those things or ideas, you're evolving a sport. It's like flying a plane whilst building it.
Yeah.
I'd never forget an amazing episode I saw on National Geographic where the Thai football team got trapped in caves with their football coach.
Yeah.
And if you can remember, they tried the special forces to get them out. They couldn't. They ended up sending the Brits in.
Yeah.
And these guys developed caving. And the guy, one of the founders of caving with underwater, he took his aqualung from the rear of his back and he put them on the side so he could squeeze through thinner gaps. And you're developing boards as you're surfing with them.
Yeah.
I can see this one here has had foam duct taped onto the side of it next to me here, and you're finding out what they need, if they've got enough core strength to be able to hold their lower part of their body, or if not, how you're going to strap them in. Is it generally a one-to-one when you're in the water, Cyril, that especially with complex disabilities, you're with them, and then who else will you have around you?
So it's always a minimum of one-to-one.
Yeah.
Even if we have a group that go in the water, there will be one coach per participant. So we always run on a process of that. But yeah, if we've got more complex needs, and that's generally the individuals that will need to go in our seated boards, and that will be probably a minimum of about 4 or 5 people in the water, and generally 2 instructors as well, just to make sure that everything is going to run. And it's not just in the water with the safety, it's moving the equipment on the beach, getting the transfers in there, getting down the beach, because we are going to take a lot of equipment down the beach into the water. So moving all of that kit is not, I can't just do that on my own.
Yeah, no.
Plus take the individual in the water as well. So yeah, it's we normally have about 5 or 6 people in the water for one of those sessions.
We have a whole host of volunteers that help on the sessions, and I cannot thank them enough for the time that they give. And a lot of the time it is kind of like they will come down at the drop of a hat, and we have a great bank of volunteers, and there's always 1 or 2 that are just there frothing for absolutely every session. But yeah, I can't thank them enough for the time that they give, because they definitely make these sessions, they create these sessions, and we wouldn't be able to run without them. So as Cyril says, he can't carry all the equipment down to the beach himself. So yeah, they help with carrying equipment, supporting on the session. It will be a simple thing such as we've kind of developed a bit of a new plan where if Cyril's in the water with a surfer, I think this tends to happen with your more Surf England team surfers, where you've got a surfer in the water, and then we'll have someone catching on the beach, but then we might also have a volunteer on the rocks that's also kind of being a bit of a spotter as well. So it doesn't,
we've created our own sign language basically to communicate from point to point.
And this is where I talk about the fact that the qualification that you have is evolving, because in fact you're learning as you're doing it, and you will end up making the blueprint for this because you are leading the charge here, which is phenomenal. Let's go back to barriers and challenges. Okay, I'm going to start with you, Zoe. What barriers and challenges did you find as establishing the charity in the first place?
The charity commission are great. They obviously have to stick to, they are very black and white, and you'll submit your application. Very rare that it will come back and they'll just give you the green light. So it's kind of like you submit it, they'll come back with questions, then you go again, and it's very much a to and fro process until you finally get your green light and boom, you're a charity, here's your charity number. We were very, very grateful in the sense of we didn't hit too many challenges. There was a slight challenge of, I think they questioned, I don't know, we might actually want to cut this, but they questioned the whole obviously Cyril had come from the profit-making commercial surf school, and was AdSurf just kind of I think they just questioned why. They questioned why move to the charity, why do this? But as soon as we explained the reasoning behind it, then it was all fine. But we were very, very lucky in the sense of there wasn't too many barriers in terms of actually getting that charity status. The barriers then I think came when we had all these big hopes and dreams, and we suddenly put a shed in somebody's car park, and then right, how the hell do we actually get them down to the water? How do we make sure the sand is moved on the beach access? How do we make sure that every single day that beach is accessible, because it's advertised as a accessible beach, so to speak, because it has a changing places toilet? Is the hoist always working? There's so many things that every single day the charity has to ensure that the beach is appropriate to use for the surfers that we're planning on taking in the water. And that is a daily battle. I think there was literally emails the other week of one of the trustees checking that the sand had been cleared, because the sand obviously blows up into the car park and we can't always push chairs down onto the beach. There was obviously the sand cliff that happens due to various wave movements. That then becomes a problem with us. We have to use a separate entrance and exit. So yeah, it's a constant battle to ensure that beach is appropriate to use. We are aware that we're based in England, and I think sometimes it's hard to see online all these amazing like solutions in Spain, and they've got these beautiful hot flat beaches that have got bits of plastic that are laid down. That would be amazing, but unfortunately that's not going to work on a North Cornwall beach where we get such like wild storms and stuff. So it's just about, like we were saying, constantly adapting, constantly trying to work things out. What can we build that is going to be able to be taken off the beach at the same time, because if we leave it, it's going to get washed away. So yeah, we definitely had more barriers once we'd started the charity, and we are constantly trying to, I think we dream so big that our dream would be to have like a massive centre in the car park and have adaptive changing spaces, have places where the families can come as well. So that's the dream. We'll get there eventually, but yeah, the barriers are just kind of like, we'll just keep smashing through them, but they're definitely there.
Well, Ben from South Wales,
Yeah,
DIY SOS,
exactly, yeah.
he had that
He's got the
incredible
dream,
state-of-the-art place, and he'd based himself out of that car park for years, just like you are. Okay, so it is important to dream big, isn't it? And it happened to Ben, and look at, maybe
they're going to have the same issues, almost worse than us a lot of times, because being further up that channel, they're going to have a bigger tidal range. I mean, the amount of people that have asked me, why don't you just have one of those things they have in Greece, which will roll all the way out to the waters? With our tide will change 500 meters in a day. So like it was 6 hours. So I mean, Ben's obviously had those as well. He's done an amazing job.
He certainly has. Yeah. So yeah, you mentioned in your conversation then, Zoe, about the hoist. So we have a disability toilet based down at Summerlees. How long has that hoist not been working? And is it functional? Is it constantly being vandalised? Have we had these issues? Because it's not consistently, is it?
No, so we're very lucky to have a changing places accessible toilet on Summerlees Beach. Not every beach in Cornwall has them. Be amazing if they did, but they don't. So we are very lucky to have one, and it means that when surfers come to us and they want a dignified place to get changed, and they also require the use of a changing table or a hoist, that we have that provision there. But that does rely on it being like actually working. So it's obviously locked by a radar key, which is fine, but sometimes the hoist isn't working, it's out of service, and then it'll often have a sticker on it that says, oh, someone's coming to have a look at it, and then it's kind of up to the volunteers and the trustees to chase and get it fixed. When it is fixed, it's amazing. It's amazing provision to have, but yeah, it's just sometimes down for maintenance.
Yeah, and sadly sometimes we know that they break. However, it must be that with your pressure and your kind of like constant, like you are on them and the county council, that this provision should become more consistent. And if it's consistent here, we hope that would be broadened out into other places where they run surf schools, because that might be the only barrier that stops them being able to do what you're doing.
And to be fair, I do have to say, like, our local councillors and stuff have been amazing. They've been full supportive of everything we've done. So as soon as we've kind of like highlighted it and said it to the right person, things do tend to move quicker. So I can't slate them in any way, because our local councillors have been amazing with supporting us. So
and that's really good to hear.
I think what we're doing as well, obviously, it's that lesson during the day. But it's not just us using that equipment. So if someone comes along and they don't know the right channels to tell someone that it's not working, or it's not in the right, it's not been cleaned or anything like that, they're not going to know what to do. And then if it's just, there's only one at Summerlees, there's not one at Crooklets, and the next beach along is not going to have one either. So that would just be right. Days over.
Gone,
we can't get changed. We can't do this, that, and the other. So. And then we're gone. So we have the benefit of knowing who those people are that we go to. It's still a pain, and it's difficult for us. But we can see things from other people's perspectives now, which is really good, and just see the general challenges that everyone faces.
So it's making great progress in the facilities.
Yes.
But maybe, fingers crossed, one day you might have your own. And that might mean that then that would be even more state of the art. Cyril, you mentioned a little bit about some of your Team England surfers. Now, you've worked alongside Surf in England. You've been to a number of the events that they've run. So there is the Adaptive Surf Championships that is held twice at the Wave that you've attended. We've also held them at beaches as well. Talk a bit about what it's like to support some of our Team England athletes. What a great experience. Where have you been and what have you done with them?
My first experience, I think, was Putsborough. Then we've done 2 seasons worth of the English Nationals at the Wave, which is really, really fun. It's very novel in the way that it runs. It's really exciting to be in the wave pool, so that's really fun. Did the World Champs in Huntington, which was amazing. That was not this time, but the year before. And then also did the Europeans in Vigo in Spain. So.
Who were you supporting out in the Worlds?
So the Worlds, I travelled with James, who's one of our surfers who's come through the Jack's Pathway with Surf England, and kind of that's how we got involved in everything. Also worked with the likes of Zoe, Harlem, worked with Dave, Peg, a whole host of them, Laurie. We've worked with, I've got to try and remember everyone now. There were so many people there. I mean, I think we took about 10 people over. So if anyone I haven't mentioned, it was really cool to work with those, such individual characters as well.
And when you're at the Worlds with adaptive surfers, does it feel different, or does very quickly it's just a massive surfing carnival once again? What's it like when you're there, the vibe?
It was mental.
Yeah.
It was mad, because I mean, I don't want to take away from what it was, but it was also the election. So there was a lot of Trump banners everywhere. It was pretty manic. There was a little crossroad that we had to go across to get to like the main street up Huntington. And we were doing that every single day, and there's just banners and flags there, and give it to the Americans, they love to cheer for something, and they were all over it. But we had the big celebration all the way down the main high street, and the crowd was amazing. It was just, as soon as you got off, it was like being in a movie. It was madness. But yeah, the competition itself was really cool as well. It was that kind of like exciting pressure because I never competed in my own surfing, so actually to be there and to be supporting James in the water, I've got the pressure of actually getting him back out through the waves and pushing him into his waves, and then doing the same over and over. So you kind of have the same feel of competing for yourself, but you're actually doing it for someone else. So the whole thing was just mad.
It was amazing to be able to watch it, because it was live streamed as well. So from like a supporter perspective, we've got people that had worked with James and worked with a load of the surfers in Team England that were out there, and we all got to sit at home and we were all just hooked on YouTube watching the live stream, and we're all texting each other like, oh, can you see them? Did you see that? Did you see that? And it was, please keep live streaming them, because they're amazing events, and it's really nice to be able to watch it, because we're obviously always trying to text Cyril, be like, how did they do? But you don't have to when it's being live.
Out on the beach at this point,
The world is different. Like when I grew up as a Grom, we'd find out about events, and we used to say this in a few episodes before, where you'd just wait for the magazine to come out maybe 3 to 4 months after the event, and then you'd find out who won, and then gradually that's drip fed to grainy pixelated live streams where you couldn't quite tell if it was a wave or not, and now it's high def,
it's
as
amazing.
if you're there with replays and 12 different camera angles. It's incredible. You mentioned about paddling out, so for people out there that may not have any idea what adaptive surfing looks like, and obviously it's like in the Olympics, all the different classifications with different things, but let's break it down to why you're in the water, because you don't have to be in the water in every single one of our adaptive surfers. So when you're in the water, why are you there and what are you doing?
So there's 10 classifications, I believe, and I think about 2 of them require in-water assistance. One of them is the VI, so the visual impairment. That's kind of an obvious one for someone being in the water. And then the reason I was in the water was that I'm in para prone 2. So that's for surfers that need to be laying prone flat on their chest on the board, and they will be unable to paddle and use their legs. So that's the reason they're prone. And then actually to make it fair, they're not allowed to use their arms to paddle or anything like that. So even if they do have the mobility and the ability to do that, then I'll be in with a set of fins behind holding the board, similar to the float board we got here, kind of pushing all the way out and then pushing back in, so that they catch the wave. So as soon as I release on the start of that wave, they are in complete control of their board, doing all of their turns and everything they've learned. And then when we get to the shallower water, then it will be the team and their catcher will pass them back over to the rip, and then I'll have swam over, hopefully in time, to then take them back out again.
And some of those people, I've obviously commentated on a number of our adaptive events over my time. Some of those, especially the paralysed members of our teams, when they fall off the board, some of them struggle to right themselves. And they're lying in the water waiting for the support crew on the inside to literally turn them back over, to roll them until they can breathe in some cases. And the courage it takes those athletes blows my mind. I'm not going to deny it. The first year I ever saw this, I was in tears while I was commentating, because it was such an overwhelming and emotional experience for me. But they are fearless, aren't they?
Yeah. And the trust that the surfers are putting in you guys to be there when you need them, like you say, it's incredible to watch, because they're getting in the water trusting that person is going to be there at the right time for them. And their breath holding for some of the surfers I've seen must be amazing. But and
I mean, I have to mention James obviously went out to the Worlds the first time. He went out to this most recent ones, which I unfortunately couldn't make it to, and he got reclassified as Prone 1, which is someone that doesn't have full assist, so he would have to paddle, and that's just because of the strength in his arms. So there was a bit of controversy there. We weren't sure which classification he was going to be put in, and unfortunately he was put into the one that we hadn't been practicing for. But he was amazing. He went out and actually got in the water, did something he'd never tried before on a world stage.
Yeah.
So, and that's for someone that, he's quadriplegic, so he's got struggles to use his arms and will have low spasticity in his fingers, and has no use from, I think it's like mid chest down. So when he comes off the board, it's a lot, and he will go into spasms and kind of will struggle to right himself. So that level of confidence and just going home, going for it, it's so admirable. He did amazing.
It is phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And if you ever get a chance, when you see on Surfing England's calendar for the Adaptive English Nationals, and if it is once again held at the Wave, which it has been quite consistently, and we thank the Wave for hosting us, just come and watch it. You will leave with a sense of empathy, but also a sense of joy and wonder that you'll go home smiling, and you'll just think, wow, these guys are amazing, absolutely amazing. It's been really lovely to hear the journey that you've reached and where you are, both of you, and what incredible work you're doing. Has there been some moments that have left you speechless, or where you've seen things that have happened with some of the people that have come, and you've just said, this is why we're doing it? Cyril, what can you say?
You've got so many.
Every single session I've been on, really.
Yeah.
There's been loads. I think the ones that really stick with me, obviously, I think when people visualize it, we'll see the physical disabilities. But I think a lot of our neuro sessions, when we were dealing with someone with neurodiversity, or I had a lad come down who had trauma and has autism, and would basically self-harm through a form of stimming, and had done that for years. And once we'd done the session, obviously being in the moment, I don't kind of realize certain things because I'm just so focused on the individual and making sure that everything's working right. Got out of the water, and the support team that came down with this individual was in tears. And I was thinking, you're instantly thinking, hang on a minute, there's something wrong here. So we've worked with this person for about 11 years and has stimmed every minute of every day, basically. And it's been an hour, hasn't stemmed at all, hasn't kind of self-abused. And then I think they actually came another time and told us it had gone on for another maybe 3 hours or so after that. And it was, you can just tell that the power of that surf therapy, of actually being in there, and it does something to everyone. I mean, you surf, Martin, you know what it's like being in the water, having that kind of peacefulness. So that for me was like, okay, we are really doing something here.
Yeah. You're changing lives. So have you seen some special experiences yourself?
For me, it's just the stories, and what you see from the volunteers, and what you see from, like Cyril said, from the support crew that are stood on the beach watching, whether it's a parent, whether it's a carer, whether it's a friend, and to see them witness this young person or an adult do something that they never thought they would do in a million years. That is something that's quite special. There's a young person that I've worked with. She's not really a young person anymore. She's an adult, and she swore to me that she would never, ever get in the sea. And then I started AdSurf, and I was like, well, fancy giving it a go. And I don't think I quite realised the trust that you have to put into the surf coach and she was never going to get in the water. She was never going to do it until I was like, this is Cyril. And then she suddenly went, yeah, okay, I might do it. And then, next thing you know, we've got her in the water, and she's actually smiling. Like, I thought she was just going to be swearing at me the entire time, but she wasn't. And I think we don't realise, like you said, that it is life-changing. And to Cyril and to us, like, we keep doing this and we keep doing it every day, but there's people that this is the one time a year that they're going to do it. And we are starting to see more and more returning surfers, which, I guess that means we're doing something right. So.
Oh, you're doing more than something right. You're changing lives. It's an incredible experience. And I hope many people that have been watching and listening to this are inspired by what you're doing, because we have to rely on volunteers in every community across Great Britain, because there is not enough people especially in the areas of mental health support. We know that there are huge waiting lists for young people. As a teacher, I know that implicitly. And if a charity like you can get a child that's struggling with their mental health into the water, which is something they've not accessed before, it can actually do them wonders that maybe waiting half a year is not going to help them until they can see that
Yeah.
specialist. So anyone out there, parents or the young people or other people that would fit Cyril's criteria, which is quite broad as you've talked about. It's not only disability, it's obviously mental health, neurodiversity, as well as many other areas, trauma as you've described. Get in touch with AdSurf,
Yes.
because you never know what might happen. It could be the step in the right direction to an amazing future. And you might be paddling out with you, Cyril, at the next Worlds, in representing Team England, because some of our athletes that have gone out there, they started surfing 1 year, 2 years before that, and they're representing their country because it's a growing team, growing sport. It's in its kind of infancy, and the people that are grabbing it by the horns are representing the country, aren't they?
I think that's what excites me about AdSurf, is the fact that we are a surf charity. We do aim to get as many people in the water as possible, but then there is also this element of Cyril and saying like, oh, you want to represent your country and surf for your country? Like, great. How can you be the best surfer and there is that element of coaching, and like, it's not just turning up, getting in the water. There is now like, if you want to take it further, then we will support you to take on that journey as well. So it's more than just getting more people in the water. It's like there is that second arm now of, let's take it further. How good can you get at your sport?
Amazing. So let's think about it. People don't live locally to Bude here in North Cornwall. There's still the ability to better come down. And you were saying before when we were chatting that some of your participants will come and stay in local hotels and bed and breakfast. Obviously, if you are close to another surf charity, Caravan and Motorhome Club campsites are amazing places that we recommend highly to our members of the community, because they have really good accessible disability facilities on their campsites in terms of cabins as well. But wherever it is, look up on the website. Surfing England have links to these organisations, and get involved, because not only as a participant, but if anyone out there has been inspired by what both Cyril and Zoe have said today, approach them. See if you need to travel far, they will find opportunity to get you involved. You run regular training for volunteers, don't you, Cyril? Because you need more and more, and without volunteers, it can't happen. So it's great to listen to it, but it's even better to get involved.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming on Off the Lip today. It's been an inspirational chat to talk to you, and it couldn't be more wonderful to see a charity like ours growing in its ability here at Bude and putting Bude on the map. So we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to see what the future brings.
Sweet. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I've been running from the wind. I can feel the darkness creeping in.
I'm Martin Reay, and I'm your host of Off the Lip, brought to you by Surfing England, the national governing body of surfing in England. Thank you to the Caravan and Motorhome Club, our headline sponsor, and to Mora Media House for creating these podcasts.
You soothe my woes when the day is done.